Hi, I've had quite a few questions recently asking me about vibrato. Like, do we sing with vibrato, without vibrato? Is it healthy? Is it unhealthy? And the answer is a healthy voice, when everything is built up, the registers are strong and balanced, yeah, and your in-breath tension and your out-breath pressure, the subglottal pressure, is balanced. Then you will hear this bop, 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 like between 5 and 6 beats a second, yeah? And of course the chords themselves, like on a tenor high A, are vibrating 440 times a second. That's 440 hertz, yeah, to create that note. So they're quickly opening and closing for 440 times in that second. So you can't control that. But when everything is working well, apart from that vibration, you get this 5 to 6 times a second vibration, which is a vibrato. And it's like you can't, if you try to sing without vibrato, as many like early music singers do, you have to use tension for that. You have to use too much TA tension, yeah. And so the chords will be too stiff, and they won't really vibrate freely, yeah. And the opposite of that is what we call a wobble. Sorry, not the opposite. You can have a straight tone, like the early music singers do, and you sometimes have this very fast vibrato, which we call tremolo. So it's sort of 7, 8, 9, and 10 times a second. It's like, oh, very quick, yeah? And that's a sign there's too much TA tension. Same with the straight tone. You have to squeeze the chords and stop the sort of natural vibrato, which is like 5 to 6 times a second. And the opposite extreme is when people are using too much subglottal pressure, and you get what's called a wobble, and the voice is free, but there's not enough TA tension, yeah? So this 5 to 6 times a second vibrato is what appears almost naturally when everything else is working really well. When the registers are all balanced and strong, and let's say your breath system is working well, you've got enough subglottal pressure to keep the air flowing and to keep the chords opening and closing, but you've also got enough of the in-breath tension, the inhalare la voce, to stop it being too full, yeah? And so, like I say, if you work with all the other videos, eventually, as these registers start to balance and your breathing system builds up, you'll find that it will want to do that to 5 to 6 times a second beat, yeah? And don't prevent it. You can't really control it, but you might notice it. And so I developed an exercise recently which can sort of help you to understand what is going on with vibrato. Yeah, I don't really want to try and make you fake it. I mean, a lot of teachers out there tell you to and try and fake the vibrato. I'd say, be careful with that. But this exercise can help singers who are already quite well developed, and they just need to practice in re-coordinating the registers in order to create the vibrato, yeah? And also, as you do it, you sort of understand what the vibrato consists of. So let's just do one example of the exercise, and then we'll discuss it. So maybe start on, say, an A, so you're below the passaggio, if you're male voice. And even, let's say, female voices, if you're struggling getting lower, then maybe do a middle C or something. But an A, ideally, below middle C. So, obviously we want to start with falsetto. We want to start just allowing that air to flow. You activate the CT muscle, stretch, yeah? And then into that we put a So we're going to go yeah? And the next part of the exercise, after you've done that, you take a breath, and we want to make a very, very blowy, breathy, chesty sound. So it's like almost like falsetto, but it's in chest. So we're gonna go, and it's as if you're going, as if you read on a script, and you have to repeat it very quickly. So it's like, yeah, just get that sort of subglottal pressure moving, yeah, yeah. And at the end of the exercise, you want to just sing a normal note. So we could just go, So let's put it all together. Yeah. So what you'll find is as you develop exercises, as you do that, the third part of it, the that will almost develop into your full voice sound. Yeah. So at the beginning it'll be then there'll be a difference. But as you work with this exercise, you'll feel that it's all about laughing, isn't it? So you're activating these breathing muscles, yeah? And then what else was I going to say? So yeah, so that whole exercise, so you first start with the falsetto, so you sort of get that breath flow going and get the CT muscle engaged, and then the you engage a little bit of that inspiratory tension, yeah, the in-breath tension, yeah, so it's holding back, push of the air, yeah, and the is obviously activating your TA muscles, you know, important too. We've got to close the chords, yeah, and then we do the we're activating the mechanism that the breath pressure that blows the chords open, yeah, so it's like first with the and then the it's like that's what constitutes a vibrato, that we close the chords and then the subglottal pressure opens them. Close, opens, yeah? And of course, as I say, whatever you do, even without vibrato, you've got to vibrate those chords, you know, 440 for the A. But with this vibrato, it's almost like there's another opening, closing going on, yeah? And it's like about 5 to 6 times a second. Yeah, and it's that's you can't control the 440 here. Don't try to do that. But the you can sort of, once you get the feeling, then it's almost like you feel like 1 2 3 4 5 or 1 2 3 4 5, and you can feel that correct. It's a bit like an engine, you know, like a car that. If you've got a really good mechanic, they can tune your engine so that it's just bop, 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 and you hear cars that like bop, 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 and they're about to cut out, or too fast, and you're wasting too much petrol. Yeah, so it's a little about, you know, the throat of a singer is like a well-tuned engine. Yeah, so let's do a few more. So you can start like below the passaggio. And then you can go through, but I'll just do a couple of examples. So let's say do a C sharp in the passaggio. And when we do the use the on, like a French on vowel, yeah? So let's go. Still do the as much as you can, but you can almost keep a bit of in the sound of the rather than the you don't do it too stretched out. So start again. And what you find is that in order to keep that vibrato constant, you feel you have to keep supplying that out-breath pressure. Yeah, so in-breath tension is important because you don't want everything to collapse. But once you start learning to sing vibrato, you'll really feel how much hard work the out-breath flow is doing. Yeah, the subglottal pressure. You never, as soon as you let go of that, the chords will close and go stiff. So you need to keep that subglottal pressure to keep opening the chords. And obviously the feeling is what closes the chords. So and that's what we call coordinated singing, coordinated voice, coordinated registers. It's not a mix. If you mix a voice, singing in mix is dangerous. It can work for pop music, but classical music, you have to be careful not to get into a mixed voice. You have to be singing in the full chest and coordinating it with falsetto, yeah? So that TA, CT, out breath, in breath, the whole thing. It's like you're singing in chest voice and falsetto almost simultaneously, yeah? And you can try it in the falsetto, the pure falsetto. It helps just get the a little bit powerful too. You won't find vibrato in the falsetto. You should never use vibrato in a falsetto. The falsetto needs to be straight, But we can do it anyway because it's good practice. So you can practice the out breath, the in breath, the TA. You know, falsetto also has TA and CT action. Yeah. So. So in this case you use hoo hoo hoo, like it's written hoo 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 hoo, and you've got to like keep reiterating that note. So vibrato is almost like you have to keep reiterating the same note. I've heard teachers do like a ah to try and encourage vibrato, but really it's ah. It's almost it's more like reiterating the same note again and again and again and again and again, both with the TAs and the ha 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 sensation. Yeah. So let's do it in falsetto. And go for the vibrato sound in the full voice. Yeah. But what you might find as you're doing the exercise, depending on what pitch you are, you may feel after the a little bit of full voice might want to come into that final note. Don't try for it, but if you feel like the full voice comes in, allow it, because that sort of that shaky sensation is a great way to find those upper notes. Because if you don't shake those upper notes, it can get quite constricted. Yeah, so this is, I work a lot with singers and just tell them when we're practicing the full voice high notes, almost think a bit of shake into it, so it never sticks. Yeah, it's hard to do. That's the hard, as you go above the passaggio, to keep the vibrato constant in the high notes is very hard. It takes an incredible lot of subglottal pressure and also a lot of in-breath tension. And the TAs are going to be very strong, but in a very thinned out, more like a falsetto version of it. That's why it's worth practicing. And you may just find as you try to shake that falsetto, the final note, you may just find yourself flipping into full voice. So I hope that's clear. So the vibrato action is this. It's almost like on off, isn't it? So we want the chords to close, but we also want them to open. So we need the You need that subglottal pressure to make the chords open, but you also want the the TA closure and sort of in-breath feeling in order to close the chords. And if you allow that to happen simultaneously, and you never switch off. If you stop the out breath, the subglottal pressure, you'll lose the vibrato. So it's a good, once you sort of understand this exercise, it's a good way for when you sing. It helps singing legato. I mean, this amazing Steinway piano has a pedal, so you don't need to use a vibrato. So if you want to play legato, use the pedal. The singers don't have a sustain pedal, so in a way you could say that the vibrato action is the sustain pedal. It allows you to change from one note to another in a very smooth manner. So like just say, for example, I mean, if I do the exercise and then do a scale down, so as I change the note, I stay on the vibrato. So it's like there's no sticking. It's very hard if someone's singing without vibrato to do true legato, because it's like the there's no sustain. Whereas because in a way the sustain pedal, it sort of gives you like a little like vibrato sensation. So that's one way of thinking about it. So if you're having trouble, I mean, it doesn't matter how good a singer you are, until you get true vibrato, you'll never get true legato. So anyway, I hope that answers the questions I've had recently about the importance of vibrato, is it only in classical music and whatever, and do classical singers have to use vibrato? And simple answer is yes. Whatever type of classical music you're singing, if you want to get true legato, you have to have that movement which will allow you to sort of almost like shake between the notes. So there's no sense of it's all and also diminuendo as well. You can diminuendo, but you keep the vibrato constant despite taking out the pressure in a way. I suppose when you diminuendoing, you're lessening the amount of TA closure. So it's almost a bit more subglottal pressure for the quiet notes. Yeah, but that's another topic anyway. Okay, I hope that's makes sense.